Hey, has that GPU mining rig paid itself off yet? Or is it worth to buy that new Dogecoin ASIC miner? Are you sure? Well, how do you know? We kinda all get that some crypto mining equipment seem to quickly make more money than what you bought the equipment for, meaning they were a profitable investment. And that in the long run, some hardware can end up making you 10, 20, or maybe even 100 times the money that you initially spent buying the mining gear for. Then, some hardware never break even against that initial cost of buying the gear, becoming massively unprofitable to mine with before ever giving you that return on investment, or ROI for short. So what gives? Is there a way for us to actually analyze if a piece of mining equipment is worth buying or not, based on if it ever will make back the money you paid for it? And more importantly, how do we even properly know if a mining hardware purchase actually has been worth it or not? Because, like me, you might not realize this at first, but there are actually a lot of different opinions on how to actually calculate true ROI on mining equipment. So, in this video, I'm going to explain in simple terms the 3 most common ways people calculate this stuff. And at the end, I'm also going to show you a 4th, much simpler and, in my opinion, better way of doing it all, which also is my personal way of deciding if getting any given type of mining hardware is actually worth it or not. And the point of understanding these calculations is because they can help us both figure out if mining hardware that we've already bought has made their money back yet, and they also let us make more accurate predictions about whether buying new mining hardware is a good idea or not. But, of course, keep in mind, nothing in this video is financial advice. Alright, let me start off with a couple of examples so we can easier understand why there is some confusion/disagreement around all of this. Let's say you buy, for example, an ASIC miner for $1,000, and after subtracting the power cost, you end up mining $150 worth of crypto with it before the miner becomes so unprofitable that you have to turn it off. Now, most people would agree that at this point, you have not ROI'd on that miner. It costs $1,000 and you've only mined $150 with it. But what if the coins you mined then go on to increase 10 times in value, meaning they are now all of a sudden worth $1,500, and you then sell your coins? At that point, some people say that you've broken even and made a profit on that miner, as you paid $1,000 for it and you now have $1,500, leaving you with a $500 profit. But some other people argue that you still never ROI'd on that machine, since the $1,000 you spent buying it could have bought you, obviously $1,000 worth of crypto, which after that 10 times coin price increase would have been worth $10,000, which obviously $10,000, a lot more than $1,500. But then that way of thinking gets really weird if the coin price doesn't go up. Because let's say we buy that same $1,000 ASIC miner and compare it again to buying $1,000 worth of the coin. And let's in this scenario say that the miner mines $950 before it becomes unprofitable, but we sell those mining profits daily, so at the end, we've locked in that $950 worth of mining income after power, or, in the end, that's a final loss of $50. $1,000 for buying the miner and $950 of income, a final loss of $50. Now, let's say that after that, the coin price plummets 50% down in value. That means even though you would have gotten more coins if you would have just bought the coin instead of the miner, $1,000 worth of coin instead of $950 worth of the coin from mining, you actually would have ended up with just $500 that way instead of $950 if you would have just bought the miner. Now you might say, yeah, but those are 2 different strategies. In one scenario, you sold every day, and in the other one, you held all of the coins. And yes, but that is kind of what my point is. There are so many variables just like that one to consider. For example, what if after mining those $950, you're also able to resell the miner for $250? Now you've ended up with $1,200 from buying the miner versus just $500 from buying the coin, even though you got more coins when buying compared to mining. As you can see, so far we only scratched the surface of all of this. So let's get into it properly. And I think it's only right that we do a quick recap here of how crypto mining economics and profitability actually work. But for a full explanation, I do have an in-depth video about all of that, so I'll link that at the end of this video and down in the video description for those of you who haven't seen that yet. Or skip to this timestamp if you're already familiar with this stuff. But in short, with mining, we buy a physical asset, which, is a piece of mining hardware. That physical asset then lets us turn electricity into cryptocurrency through mining. And generally, we want that cryptocurrency it mines to be worth more than the electricity to run the miner costs. And this is what we refer to as our mining profitability. For example, we might pay $1 in power every day to mine $2 worth of crypto. A simpler way to look at this is that the mining hardware basically lets us purchase cryptocurrency at a discount, since we are only paying $1 for power but receive $2 worth of crypto. And that mining profitability is mostly affected by 6 main factors: the mining performance or hash rate of your equipment, how much electricity the equipment uses, your electricity price, the total amount of coins the crypto you are mining pays out to miners each day, the price of that coin, and finally how much total mining power or network hash rate there is currently mining the same coin as you have to share the mining earnings with all of those other people. For example, if you mine $10 per day and pay $2 in power, your profit is $8. If your power price now doubles, that lowers your mining profit to $6 per day. If the daily coin issuance by the crypto you are mining then decreases by 50%, for example as a result of a block reward halving which many cryptos have every 4 years, that now means you mine $5 per day and still pay $4 in power, leaving you with a $1 profit. But if the coin price then were to double, all of a sudden you are now mining $10 per day again and still paying $4 in power. So profit is now back to $6 daily. If you then were to double your mining hash rate by buying twice the equipment that you already have, you will then of course both double your income to $20 and your power cost to $8, leaving you with a profit of $12 per day. Now, what many new miners don't realize is the mining hardware itself is actually an investment too, and we do have to take that into account. Because in almost all cases, you will be able to resell the equipment when you no longer want to mine with it. And at that point, it might be worth maybe half of what you paid for it, maybe a quarter, or in some cases, it could actually be worth double or even more than that. All depends on how sought after the hardware is at that moment when you sell it. It could end up being worth significantly more than what you bought it for. But in other words, you start by making a one-time investment into a physical asset, the mining equipment. And that physical asset then allows you to make a continuous investment into a digital asset, which is the crypto that you are mining with it. And not only that, but you are also allowed to make that secondary investment at a significant discount, since again, we should be paying less for the power than the crypto that we are mining is worth. And of course, both those assets are then able to be sold in the future, and both of them can go both up and down in price significantly. And this is part of why doing ROI calculations can be so tricky, as we're dealing with a two-step investment process where we are trying to account for two different types of assets, as well as two different ways of acquiring those assets. But with that said, let's jump into the first and maybe easiest to wrap your head around approach to calculate break-even, or ROI, or if you've made your money back, however you want to call it. And that is to simply just look at how much money you spent buying the equipment, and then add to that the amount of money you've spent paying for power to run that equipment, and then look at all the crypto that you have mined with that equipment. And once that crypto becomes worth more money than what you spent on the equipment and power combined, well, that is when you have reached your ROI. It doesn't matter if that happens just from mining for a very long period while staying slightly profitable the whole time, or if it happens because the coin price increased massively and all of a sudden all of the coins you mined are now worth a heck of a lot more. I'll put examples of these two scenarios on the screen here so that you can check out what that looks like more exactly. And if you want to take this way of calculating ROI to the next level, you should also include the price you believe you can realistically resell the mining equipment for too. Again, I'll put another two scenarios up on the screen here that take that into account as well. The main problem people see with this way of calculating ROI is that it's, too simplistic and doesn't really take the whole picture into account. For example, if you only reach ROI because the coin price increased dramatically in value, then you probably would have been way better off if you would have just bought the coin for the money you spent on the hardware and power to run the hardware instead. And this brings me to the second way people like to calculate ROI, which is a way that has been becoming a lot more popular recently. Unfortunately, this way also has some major disadvantages and shortcomings, and I'll explain what those are in just a bit. So, the second way of calculating ROI is basically to look at the price of whatever mining hardware you are wanting to buy, and if you want to be really precise about it, you can also add the electricity price you'd have to pay in order to run that mining equipment for however long you do want to mine with it. Let's say that that's $1,000 for the mining hardware and $200 in power to run it for 2 years. What you then do is you just see how much crypto you could buy with those $1,200. Let's say it's a Caspa miner that we're looking at, and as of today, that $1,200 would buy you roughly 7,000 Caspa. According to this way of calculating ROI, it's completely regardless of coin price or portfolio value. That equipment has not ROI'd until it has mined more Caspa than that. So, more than 7,000 Caspa coins. And at first glance, that does look like a really solid way of calculating it, right? The equipment hasn't ROI'd until it's mined more coins than you could have gotten if you just were to buy the coin instead. The main problem with this, however, is that it's comparing two completely different types of investment strategies, which just don't work in the same way and also don't really have the same circumstances either. So let me explain what I mean. Starting with, for most people, you can't just compare buying crypto and buying mining equipment on a one-to-one scale. And that is because if you are mining crypto, in almost all cases, the appropriate way of doing that is to have some sort of business setup for your mining operation, no matter how big or small. Now, what that looks like will of course differ slightly between different states and countries, and none of this is any form of tax advice. You need to do your own research on this and talk to a local tax professional. But I bring this up because since you most likely have your mining operation set up as some sort of business, you're able to expense and depreciate the value of both the mining hardware that you buy and also the cost of the power for running that hardware. You're of course also most likely able to pay for those things with the money inside of your business, which I'm assuming is pre-tax money. Now, comparing that to buying crypto, well, to buy crypto means that you have to take money either from your normal salary, which you've already paid tax on, or with money that you need to pay yourself out of your business and then pay tax on, and then use that money to buy the coins. So for example, $1,000 that you can use to buy mining hardware with inside of your business might only be worth something like $800 after you take it out of your business to buy crypto with, after the tax man gets his cut. And of course it goes even a step further than that, because if you do buy mining hardware inside of your business, that's then an expense which then also most likely lowers the amount of tax you have to pay, or maybe even offsets it completely. Next, the second reason this way of calculating ROI can fall flat is that, well, in the real world, having more coins isn't necessarily better. We already touched on this in the intro, but it's because you actually don't make any money from just having coins, or buying crypto, unless the coin price actually goes up. But with mining crypto, you can still make money even if the coin price goes down. As long as your mining equipment is still profitable, which it of course can still be even if the coin price goes down a bit, you can still end up with more money in your pocket than what you started out with through mining. And also, again, what about the resale value of that mining equipment? Because if you're comparing buying mining equipment for a coin versus flat out investing money in that coin, then I'm assuming you're doing that because you are convinced that this coin is going to increase in price. I mean, why else would you want to invest money in it? And for many coins, if they increase dramatically in price, so will the resale value of the equipment to mine those coins. So you could buy a miner and then end up selling it for more than what you bought it for. Then how do you calculate how much coin you could have bought for the price of the miner when you end up making money buying and later reselling that miner? And even if you don't end up being able to sell it for more, maybe you are at least able to sell it for half of what you bought it for. Then the question becomes, at what point in the comparison do you take that into account? Do you just subtract the sale price of the miner from the final value of the coins you could have potentially bought with the money instead? Or do you compare it to buying half as many coins, since you technically only paid half the price for the miner because you got 50% of the price back when, you resold it? My point is that it gets extremely messy this way, as it just kind of doesn't work comparing two completely different investment strategies like this. They're different and they work differently. We also can't forget that mining offers a lot of advantages compared to just buying crypto. And when we start to look at calculating ROI this way, we aren't taking any of those advantages into account anymore. If you want to learn what those advantages are, then I actually have a full video on that, which I'll link at the end of this video and down in the video description as well. But this brings me to the third way of calculating ROI for mining equipment, which is to 100% focus on daily mining profitability. So every day you look at how many coins did you mine today, how much are those coins worth today, how much did you spend on power today, and then you just subtract the power cost from the value of the mined coins to get your final mining profit for that day. And then you just start adding up your daily mining profit day by day until the total sum of all of those day by day profits are greater than what you paid for the mining hardware. This approach completely removes the factor of coin price change. It just looks at how much free crypto did you receive every single day. Because remember, mining is basically just buying crypto at a discount, meaning you get a certain amount of free crypto every day. And this way of calculating ROI does so by saying you've not broken even on your mining equipment until the sum of all the free crypto you received each day is greater than the price you paid for the equipment. Another way of thinking of this is imagine selling the crypto you mine every single day and using that money to first pay for power and then saving whatever is left over after you've paid for power. And when that pot of saved money is then greater than what you paid for your mining gear, that's when you've reached your ROI. And you can choose if you want to take the resale value of the mining equipment into account here or not as well. Again, of course, there are issues with this way of calculating ROI as well. The main one being that this isn't usually how people do mining. You know, most of us do it because we believe coin prices will actually go up. For some people, that's even the whole point of it all, and they're willing to mine for mere pennies worth of daily profit, which means their equipment would never ever ROI in a million years according to this way of calculating. But they do it anyway because they are convinced that the coin they are mining will go up in value, and getting that tiny bit of extra coin every day through mining instead of buying is worth it to them because of that, even if it's just a few extra cents of profit every single day. In the end, mining is kind of just investing with extra steps. So taking the asset appreciation aspect out of the whole calculation also means you're kind of disregarding a massive part of the whole point of it all. So what's the deal then? It's all just for nothing? Every way of doing the ROI calculations has big enough flaws making them useless? No, not at all. Well, at least not in my opinion. And I'm going to tell you my way of doing ROI calculations after this quick word from our sponsor. Coin Mining Central is an online store for ASIC miners, and there's no doubt that right now ASIC mining profitability has just been going up like crazy in these past few months. And the miners that I'm personally most interested in right now are probably the Goldshell KA Box Home Caspa miner and the Jasminer X16Q, which I still think is probably the best ASIC miner available for at-home miners like myself. Coin Mining Central are also continuously providing me with exclusive discount codes for you guys, like the code 𝗬, which gives you $125 off on every miner in your order. I am also very excited to tell you that Coin Mining Central have recently launched a loyalty program that lets you earn points in loads of different ways, like signing up for their newsletter or following them on social media. You also earn points on every order you make with them, and these loyalty points can then be redeemed for massive discounts on your next purchase. Now, on top of this, with Coin Mining Central, worldwide express shipping is always free, and there are never any added payment fees during checkout or anything like that. The listed price is always the total cost you'll pay for the miners. And I did a lot of research before I decided to partner up with Coin Mining Central, and there were two clear things that stood out to me about them. The first one being that as opposed to most other ASIC vendors that are based overseas, Coin Mining Central is registered and run out of England, Europe, which means they have to adhere to the very strict regulations for customer support and personal detail protection that we have over here. And of course, all brand new miners also come with a full manufacturer warranty. The second thing is their pretty much spotless track record of delivering miners to happy customers like you guys for well over 5 years at this point. So please go check them out today. I'll have the discount codes and link for you down in the video description. So how do I do it? How do I calculate, for example, whether an old mining rig has actually made its money back, or if buying a new ASIC miner is going to be worth it? Well, this is where I just want to tell you to stop overcomplicating things in your head. Here's what I look at. Do I have more money in my pocket at the end compared to when I started? If yes, then I'm good. It doesn't matter how that happened. And it also doesn't matter if I could potentially have made even more money by, for example, buying the coin instead of buying the mining equipment. Because through that way of thinking, in hindsight, there's always a better investment that you could have made instead. For example, let's take the Bitmain L7 miner that I got last year. Even though that has ROI'd pretty much no matter how you look at it, it still hasn't ROI'd compared to if you would have just bought Nvidia stock for the money instead. But, you know, no one ever says that they haven't ROI'd on their miner because they would have made more money by buying Apple stock instead. And in the same way, I don't compare mining coins to buying coins. So stop worrying about what could have been and just focus on what you got. If you do want to mine because you like all of the advantages mining comes with, then mine on. And if at the end of it you have at least a bit more money than what you started with, then in my mind you ROI'd and you're good. And that is the thing too. You can do a bit of everything if you want. You can mine and buy crypto and buy stocks and invest in real estate and buy precious metals or whatever else you feel is right for you. And I just approach each of those with the question, will I have more money at the end compared to before I invested? And that goes for buying mining hardware too. When I'm considering buying new equipment for my mining farm, all the calculations I do are just based around, will I end up with more money than what I had when I started? Usually that just looks like, what does the mining equipment cost? How much does it cost to run it in terms of power? How many coins do I expect to mine before I sell the equipment? How much can I sell the equipment for, and how much can I sell all those mined coins for? If I feel like there seems to be a good plausibility for the result of that to fall within a range of, profitability, then that piece of hardware is something I might seriously consider buying. And because I know some of you will ask, right now what I'm kind of looking at, in terms of those things would be the Bitmain L9 and Bombax EZ100 for exactly those reasons. Link in the description if you do want to check those out for yourself, by the way. And usually I do tend to do those types of calculations for specifically mining hardware more than any other type of investments. And that's just because I really like all of the advantages that come with investing in mining hardware. And if you want to know what all of those advantages are, then I recommend you check out this video next. Or if you want to learn more about, in depth how making money with crypto mining actually works, then I recommend this video instead. So I'll see you there. Thank you for watching.